Good day to you, glorious listeners. Shane here for the Disinformed podcast. I have to regretfully inform you that at some point in this episode, there was a cataclysm and a major disturbance in the force, which caused two of our microphones to completely drop dead. I will not name names, but it's John's fault. So, we are very sorry. We did everything that we could to try to salvage the audio so you can still get the content because we felt the conversation was interesting enough that we wanted to include it here. However, we do want to give you the caveat that things are going to sound dramatically different for John and my discussion quality, and Michael will be much louder than the two of us. So, knowing that going in, we apologize and we are going to do our level best to ensure that this never happens again. Until next week, love and kisses, and please enjoy the episode.
So, did you guys ever wonder what your own shit would taste like?
Not once.
What? No, not at all either.
Is this another one of those things where you're going to want to try to make us dress rats up to get you off again? Or?
I don't know. You just ever take a shit and just be like, I wonder what that would have tasted like.
No!
Okay, good.
God's holy name is wrong with you.
What in the eternal?
Well, welcome back to the shit tasting show.
I feel like I'm eating shit listening to this.
You're welcome.
It sounds
I
like
felt like
Less Than Jake got fucked by a Less Than Jake cover band who was having sex with Sublime's ugly stepsister.
Who's in no doubt. Welcome back to the Disinformed podcast, you long-suffering listeners, you. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
And I'm Michael.
And today we are going to try to not brutalize you the way we did last week, but unfortunately we're swinging and missing with this musical cue. But,
Michael gave me a fidget widget so that I don't hit the mic
it's an app?
with it.
Monkey Fidgets, I think is the
Is it
brand.
called Monkey Fidgets?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is delightful.
Okay. Can I just play with my dick so that I don't fiddle with anything?
As long as you don't hit the shock mount, I don't care.
Okay, well, John, get over here.
Michael, what was the bit of wisdom that you gave before we started rolling?
If the clit does not fit, you must acquit.
Now, where are you
And you
trying...
get that with no context, everybody.
Yes. Where are you trying to fit the clit? Can I ask that?
That's a trade secret.
Whose trade?
You don't know Trade down the street?
No. I don't drink. No thanks, I'm not hungry.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, I already opened mine. Oh,
So you broadened your attention span for the episode? That's good. So I have an
He is the sound
interesting...
effects guy. Sorry.
Getting off of the clit for a moment, or getting off with the clit for a moment. So I had a really interesting experience that occurred probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago, where there was a visually impaired student that attended the downtown campus. And you can follow me on this, I'm sure. But so I was working in the library at the time, and she came in probably 2 to 3 times a week and had to utilize some of our software. And so you are typically inclined to offer your arm to someone with a visual disability so that you can help to kind of walk them over to places, help them to avoid loud horn blasts and really awful ska music. But so I would offer, frequently to assist her and float over with her because a lot of my students weren't trained to offer assistance and things like this. So she would flirt with me, and
Okay.
this is not me trying to blow myself up here. This is just more. It's got me on a really interesting train of thought subsequently, where I was like, if you were born blind and you have no frame of reference for aesthetic at all, what would be the things that would attract you? Is the old joke
Oh,
about Ray
man.
Charles used to like reach out and grab a woman's wrist as he shook her hand to determine how much weight she had on her, things like this. But I used to have conversations with my coworkers because like she was flirting with you. I was like, yeah, I got the feeling, but I'm like, I don't know what would be the thing that would attract her to me.
Oh,
So then I'm like,
that's
well,
good.
I'm perhaps I have those dulcet tones are trying to lure her.
You do
in,
have the
or-
voice.
So maybe my cologne or my beard balms.
If I was if I was for the guys, your voice would do it for me.
Okay.
If I was blind and your scent.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
I'll call
your
you
pheromones,
later on
if
this
you will.
evening, and we'll have a little chat.
Yeah, gosh.
It's
I think
weird
I'm,
when you
I'm
start.
So my thing is clothing.
Okay.
And it's not well dressed. It's just
How crumpled it
combinations
looks on
and complementary colors.
Okay.
It's a whole ensemble thing,
Right.
which has kind of been a weird thing to realize because it's not really like, with other people and their fetishes, you can kind of really deep dive onto that,
Uh-huh.
like find the fetish. But I can't really find a fetish for. Yeah, I just like it when women dress like really well. It doesn't even have to be slutty clothing. It can be just...
So you're a fashionista.
Yeah, but I have no class or style.
Okay. It's so weird when I think about it, not to cut you off.
No.
I'll let you finish your thought. But honestly, how much of the things that attract us
Or
to the
visual.
opposite sex are purely aesthetic?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm scent as
Right.
well.
And
So,
yes, that's a big thing, but
yeah,
There's actually a funny story with that. Earlier today, actually at work, one of the coworkers came in. She actually dressed up as Howie and went and flipped signs or whatever. But she got out of the outfit and she had the same perfume that my girlfriend has. And I was just very
yeah.
confused because I'm like, I don't
Ding.
know how to react.
So you're a fucking science nerd. You should know this shit. As I'm playing with a fidget spinner like a fucking.
See,
5-year-old.
isn't it useful? Not, I haven't heard any single.
No,
the,
you haven't.
The
not
old
yet. There's still
joke of
time.
like, I think there is an Axe commercial that said like scent is the one sense that is the strongest tied to memory.
Neurologically, there's a tie. I read a book. This is Your Brain on Music is the name of the book,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is way over my head, but a big part of it was the connection of smell and sounds as it pertains to memory itself. So yeah, that makes perfect sense, Michael.
Mhm.
And I've had the same thing too. Like I wear the same cologne now that I did like my second to last year in high school. Not just because I haven't grown out of it, but generally it's just, I really like it. But
Mhm.
my first girlfriend of all like my high school sweetheart picked that cologne out for me, and still wearing the cologne and it hasn't changed at all. Like will remind me every now and again when I smell it of like certain like weird, fun, cool times back then.
Now this is the Lacoste cologne that you had to order from Walmart.
No,
and get
it's not
Glade
that
flings. Oh, okay.
This is I'm a cheapskate. Still, this is Kenneth Cole Black.
Okay.
It's like $30, and I think you can get it at Nordstrom Rack. There you go.
Nordstrom. Bless
But,
him.
I'm
a
but it's
Calvin
that,
Klein
and then I don't
person
know what the
myself.
name of her cologne is, but there are some customers that I have that walk through the bar that wear certain perfumes that my
Mhm.
exes have worn, and it's just like, what the fuck? It transforms you all the way back.
Mhm.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I have long hair and a tiny little dick.
And now you have short hair.
And a tiny little dick.
Hey, don't talk about Sam that way on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
But the joyful thing, like as I thought about this, I really got like a weird deep dive, and it's also the separation between genders of what attracts them.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of have a weird spin on all of this stuff. But I also, in the course of like a month after that, and we can debate whether or not this is something that we want to include here, but this is brought to bear on a lot of conversations that are having today. I was approached and asked out by someone who was, as far as I can assume, someone who was a transgendered individual. So then I got to have like an existential conversation with my boss, who was openly gay, about whether or not like that would make me uncomfortable. So this is a fun conversation to have with your boss at work, where he's like, "Do you think you could date a guy that had transitioned and had converted over?" And then you start running your brain around, and it's like,
yes,
yeah, I don't think I'd have a problem
absolutely.
with it at all. I think the only time it would intimidate me is if the equipment was involved. So if this is pre-op versus post-op,
yeah,
you know,
and that's where it gets tricky. And how do you navigate that conversationally? One of this is going to be really weird connectively, but one, I think it's absolutely okay to keep in.
Right?
Yeah.
I had a customer when I first started working, was not yet transitioning, and then over the course of the past 2 years, I've only seen them probably maybe like a handful of times, and it's after they've made the decision to transition. And it has been one of the most accidentally, on my end, heartwarming things to watch somebody like slowly get to where they want to be in a, not in a weird way, but like in a way that makes sense.
No,
to them.
I know exactly what you're talking about because
continue. Oh no, go ahead.
My best friend, the first friend I ever made in kindergarten, she's trans. I have talked to her on and off for years, but I stopped, like, I even lived with her in college for a time, and then she, after graduation, when I still stayed in school because I hate myself.
Want to ruin your life with education.
Yeah. She eventually got a job out in California, and that was where she started transitioning. I didn't see her for the longest time until actually 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And she was mostly transitioned by then. And you're right, like, it is so heartwarming because they, like, you could even, like, they don't have to say that they feel better. It's just
their personality is more comfortable.
Yeah, she was a lot more reserved and, like, not necessarily, like, held back, but, like, almost, like, you could almost feel the uncomfortableness. But then when I hung out with her the couple weeks ago, she was the life of the party. She was more out there, more bubbly than I am, which is saying something.
The person that I met, was pretty shy, but it was almost shy in a way of like, why would you talk to the person just selling you beer or serving you beer? Oh my God, that was Shane and that wasn't me. But now when I see her, she is super talkative, super about it. Just, I don't know. It's just great. But yeah, that is an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was one of those things, having really sat down and started to analyze our heteronormative behavior in certain instances. So it really got me on this weird, and I talked about it on the previous podcast, but it was something I thought would be interesting to bring up here, of just, you know, conversations you never imagined you would have had. And certainly, like, we have grown leaps and bounds in a national consciousness since that point. But this is kind of nascent stages when this is finally starting to be pushed a little more out into, you know, what they would call a casual conversation. And so it's interesting how these things kind of start to form your personality and your perspective. But
yeah, so I guess what you'd be left with then, if you're going for, you know, lack of sight, it'd be smell, touch, and sound, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, smell guy for sure.
Okay.
Your perfumes are just like what you smell. Smell guy,
It's like
yeah,
just butts.
Just fart into my mouth.
Just fart in my mouth and tell me you love me.
Let me lick your armpit.
I went to,
and there are certain vocal, timbres that just drive me up the fucking wall as far as like I can't stand you. So I don't know, like if you didn't have things to balance it out, you know, because I think visually you can make compromises.
It also hit me with the Pulp Fiction line from our little tulip. What is pleasing to the eye and pleasing to the touch are seldom the same thing.
Yeah.
In that discussion, and that was interesting because you don't realize in the course of like the conversation I had about the particular young lady, it's like my own insecurities started showing, I think, at the time. So it's like, I don't know why you'd be attracted to me. I can't imagine a single thing.
Right.
And then you start running out things like, well, take all of this other stuff out, then the white noise, the static that surrounds how we normally interact with each other.
Talking about phone sex.
Yes. I called her on the phone and she touched herself. But it's interesting to think about just how you would go about relating to other people if you don't have the onus of having to feel like you have to be done up or, any of this other nonsense of just you can relate purely on personality. It was a really interesting conversation.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
we devolved long enough on
that was
but
great.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
So
It actually was a good conversation. Not something I don't think we usually have here.
well, occasionally we want to try to inject something that, raises the eyebrow and then raises the intellect. That's, we're trying to get there.
Raises
Subsequently,
the tent.
my
Thank you for that.
I feel smarter already.
well, if you couldn't have gathered it by now, this is just us, the loose form episode where I don't have to do any research because I'm bad at it and won't do it.
I refuse to do it.
Speaking of podcasts, what was the first podcast you ever listened to? First one. I will tell you my stories. When Kevin Smith got booted off of the plane, when the Southwest Airline incident happened, he said he was going to detail everything that happened to him that evening on Smodcast, which was his podcast at the time. I had never heard a podcast. I had never uncovered anything. So I went and downloaded that episode. And I was like, this is cool. It's just like Kevin Smith talking for an hour and a half. And it was a very interesting way to get in on the ground floor with him because he's detailing personal, incident of his life. And that's been very well chronicled. And then because of that, I went down and it was like 96 episodes in at that point by the time you got to that. So I went and downloaded a ton of Smodcast episodes. So that was kind of the onus for me getting like into the podcast field. But
I'm trying to think. I think it would...
Do you
The
want more
first
time?
two that
I
the
can-
first
Okay.
two that are coming to mind are equal Night Vale and Harmontown.
okay.
So Harmontown would be Dan Harmon's from Community and Rick and Morty, but I didn't avidly listen and follow through with all Harmontown because there was so much content. Night Vale, because of you, Shane, I listened to at the time actually relatively like new episodes of.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a year ago that I went through and I am fully caught up on the whole thing, which seemed impossible until you realize that they're 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, they're pretty bite-sized.
Yeah, so anyway, Michael?
I think I already mentioned this podcast in the past, but Hello Internet. It's essentially two YouTubers, educational YouTubers that just kind of like do what we do. Well, what we're doing in this episode, not what we typically do.
Right.
Just shooting the shit and talking about YouTube or talking about like that sort of thing. And then I followed both of those two. They have other podcasts that I listen to. One of them, the guy's name is CGP Grey. He has a secondary podcast called Cortex, which is all about productivity. I listen to it on occasion whenever I feel I'm not productive, and then I get a burst of productivity for like a week or two, and then I forget about it and go back down. And then the other guy, his name is Brady Heron. He does a lot of YouTube channels, one of which is called Numberphile. He has two other podcasts, one of which he just interviews people that he interviews for Numberphile. And then another one, the Unmade Podcast, where it's just him and he's Australian, and then he has another Australian bloke that they just come up
Don't
with
act like you can get away with just casually whipping bloke in Australian. All right, Chris Hemsworth.
But what they do is they just come up with podcast ideas.
Okay.
And that's
Cool.
the whole...
And that's where you got the
Thing-
concept for this one.
No, actually. No, I mean, I go back to episode 1. That's where I got my idea.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know how to find that episode.
Not hungry, thanks. So, the other thing I thought you should listen to, Justin Long has a podcast called
Really?
Life is Short with Justin Long.
Like it's
He had an episode with Kevin Smith, and he had one with Jesse Eisenberg, which was really interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, go give it a listen. He has some really fun episodes.
Is that what he's doing? 'Cause
Yeah, he
has
co-hosts it with his brother, oddly enough.
Oh.
So they have like little repartee between each other at the beginning of the episode to introduce the guest.
Okay.
And then Justin actually does the interview. So it feels very much like the thing they did in Tusk, where he would go off, do the interview, come back, and then relate it to the other podcast hosts. It's very interesting. Okay. I'm not sure whether he actually took it off of that or what, but
maybe
it's fun.
Because he hasn't done anything like acting-wise in a while.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
I haven't really seen him since that beautiful movie Drag Me to Hell.
Oh, that vehicle?
There's a vehicle? So I wanna take a moment, one, to preface that we are going to be doing a couple new things here, and John's going to spearhead the second half of this podcast, I think, if you've got some ideas, because I'm looking at you holding things.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're loose form. I don't
we're totally loose form. So we're going to get our sponsor in here, and then, following the sponsor, we are going to have our first installment of our brand new segment.
I'm excited for this. I'll put my phone down.
It's proper pronunciation.
So do you want to knock the
with
sponsor?
Michael. Yes, I'm going to hit the sponsor. And
say
this
the
is
name again of the segment we're going to get to after this?
Proper pronunciation with Michael.
I can only imagine what the music is going to sound like underneath the intro to that segment.
Don't build up like listener expectations, okay?
See, if I say it, then it has to happen. It's Chekhov's gun. Right? Chekhov?
Chekhov what? I don't even have a list in front of me.
Am I right? Is that what it is?
The guy Jack-off is how you pronounce it.
Oh, sorry. Jack-off's gun. Where if you see it in the first act, it means it has to come on your face in the third.
And that is a perfect segue, or segue, as we would say, to our sponsor this week. And John actually put me onto this one. We are sponsored by Goodweeds. As we march the overgrown trail to legalization, more and more folks are getting enwrapped by reefer madness. But for those who are past their dank dorm room days, and that's D-A-Z, so that's very funny, how do you know which high is right for you? Well, that's where Goodweeds comes in. Goodweeds is the world's largest site for cannabis lovers to convene and go green. Our mission is to help people find and share the strains they love, enabling weeders across the globe to meet their mellow without any stress. Whether you prefer flowers, concentrates, vaping, or edibles, we have lists curated by you, for you. And we partner with a broad array of local dispensaries to help you get what you want at locations close to home. Whatever your tastes, we can help lead you down the primrose path to happiness. I personally have no clue what the fuck this ad is regarding because I'm cleaner than a Christian's prom dress. That's Goodweeds. Feed your green machine. And I'm very excited that you brought this to us, John.
I'm going to go ahead and deflate this real quick. You just described a real thing.
Oh, really?
Accidentally.
No.
This already exists. It's weed map stuff.
But see, we're sponsored by another version of this.
We were leaving practice on Sunday, Shane and I, and we were talking about sponsorships and things that had come into our email about people that wanted to sponsor us. And I was like, I just really wish that someone would sponsor us for something it was review related. And Shane said, you know what? I just read an email of someone who wants to sponsor us. I can't wait to show you on Tuesday.
Yep.
And that's what happened. But yeah, well, I'm glad that they're there, and I wish them the best of success. But I think Weed Maps is already there. Shane's writing on his magic murder pads. I think it's his hit list.
So how we're gonna run this
is... Before we do that, I want an aside because you spoke about green. I touched the shock mount. I've become the thing I've just wanted to destroy. Anyway,
I haven't touched it once.
Wow, that
fucking
was
cuck.
What even is the? Anyway, so do you remember a couple episodes ago when you asked me if I had heard about that cult?
The Loving Hut.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one on Southern, right across the street from Bottle Shop. Kitty Corner.
Really?
Yeah. Loving Hut.
Do you want to go join a cult?
No.
I mean, I could always go for like a salad or something.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was walking to...
the Ross?
Yes. Wait.
Couscous poison? The poison made for couscous?
This
next
is the
to the
least
Sprint
interesting podcast we've ever done.
Anyway. I have seen it now. So,
Okay.
there's the... Yeah. Cool.
Well,
So
thank you.
I have...
Thanks, Ollie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to write this stuff out so that we can get it to Michael in a reasonable fashion.
Okay. Well, while you do that, Shane sent us an article that fits our episodes. So I'll go ahead and read it real quick. It's from our favorite super reliable news source. It's from Fox News. Conservative group slams Burger King over commercial using the D word.
Oh.
I'm so desensitized that I spent the majority skimming through this to be like, what D word? Like, what's the
I can think of 10 right now.
Yeah. So the conservative group 1 Million Moms is accusing Burger King of crossing the line over an Impossible Whopper commercial that uses the D word.
The group's website reads, "The language in the commercial is offensive, and it's sad that this once family restaurant has made yet another deliberate decision to produce a controversial advertisement instead of a wholesome one."
How can you make a wholesome Whopper commercial?
I know. The group, which is a division of the American Family Association, called out a commercial
AFA?
that
AFA!
that documents the reaction to taste test of the now popular meatless burger. One man, completely stunned by the Impossible Whopper's tastiness, says, "Damn, that's good." Apparently, the use of the D word went too far for 1 million moms. 1 million moms find this highly inappropriate. When responding to the taste test, he didn't have to curse, the group said. Or if, in fact, it was real and an unscripted interview in which the man was not an actor, then Burger King could have simply chosen to edit the profanity out of the commercial.
So 1 million moms are scared of the D.
You would prep that joke.
No, I mean, I've prepped my D before, but not to give it to 1 million moms.
Well, you just wait for this, because the group called the ad irresponsible and tasteless.
So,
Unlike the
asterisk, South Park had an episode where they literally said shit, like 47 times?
Yeah.
This is what we're getting offended at.
Well, Shane. And is extremely destructive and damaging to impressionable children viewing a commercial. We all know children repeat what they hear.
Children have access to the internet where midgets shove party-sized subs into other people's assholes whilst onlookers manually masturbate. Now, how the fuck is the word damn damaging compared to that?
Well, last month the group caused the Hallmark Channel to initially pull a Zola commercial featuring two brides kissing during a same-sex wedding ceremony. So I don't think we're really dealing with the most logistically minded people. Now...
So they don't want meat... Listen, we're getting as close to their agenda as we can because there's no meat in that sandwich. There's no meat in the lesbians kissing either, so altogether, I think this is what they want.
I don't know, Shane. I am just really distraught.
I cannot... So here's the fun line that we're going to have to ride. And the reason I sent this along is it made me think. We are an entity that is torn between two giant trains that are barreling in completely opposite directions. And sane and rational people have to then ride between the two of them and balance perilously between each. Because, listen, I don't fancy myself a conservative at all, as evidenced by this entire run. I also wouldn't say I'm hyper-liberal either, because I am the one kid sitting here who's never had a drink in his life, doesn't take drugs, all this other random that you would call a straight-edge guy, and I'm in my late 30s. So I look at both of these things and I'm like, you can't shelter children to an extent that the word damn is the thing that is going to traumatize them beyond belief. Like, I'm sure you've said worse things to each other in the midst of an argument in front of them.
Oh, absolutely. I had this conversation earlier where I was talking about my dad. My dad.
Which,
not yet.
I just said, why didn't Uncle Touchy not, come down and come on my face?
That's my dad's job.
Dad could have stopped
Why was he trying to steal?
Why did they have to
job?
sword fight my mouth?
Whereas my dad's from Kentucky, like deep Kentucky, and a majority of his side of the family, they're far right as far as like how they would lean. And I'm not really that, but it's kind of exactly what you're saying. And it was on the topic of guns. And I was like, I don't really like. I agree with the position of that we need to have stricter, without getting into a whole fucking thing.
Yes, right.
That things need to be a little more stricter. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't be opposed to owning a gun. And talking in that context with my wife, being from Chicago and very much being rooted in the, that leaning side, blue state, where you kind of get to pick and choose who you are as you grow older. Like, you don't have to be consigned to who your parents were. And it's just really interesting realizing that as you get older and older that, I can like guns, but not, be from Kentucky.
And you can also like guns and not shoot 37 small children with one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you can like guns and be responsible with your gun ownership, but then still be a liberal.
Yeah. It's so difficult because we act as though there are very distinct black and white realities, and there's not. It's just we simply exist in shades of gray. So it's, hey, it's a Star Wars line, kids. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. So, like, the good side of everything is we're supposed to just listen to one another and have empathy. And if I don't agree with you, I don't hunt. Like, for as ironic as that is.
Right.
But I don't have a moralistic objection to it. So it's odd that when you try to control other people's conduct, and I mean, there's a degree to which we have to do that because it's society, and if we were, running in an anarchic state right now, you could just do whatever you want at a whim. But within reason, to be, completely brutally honest, do what you want. You do you.
Yeah.
If you want to go out, drink 47 beers, take as many handfuls of pills as you want, and then just start raving and jabbering in the confines of your own home, God bless you. Go do it. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Trust me, I'm not judging anybody by that. I do plenty of things that are not acceptable in polite society.
Like masturbating 18 times in 3 hours.
Yes. In front of a gaggle of school children. Yeah.
That is not factual, and I do not stand by that.
Darn it, I was going to be like...
I do not represent those of the disinformed.
But in the midst of, I love that we're back again on it. Just, you can watch someone be decapitated on dark web. Yeah. Well, not even, I mean...
No, yeah.
That at a random, there prior to YouTube tightening down, you could watch people be beheaded on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're worried about the word damn slipping into a commercial.
Oh, that's funny. Not funny. Your Mom's House podcast, so it's Tom Segura and Christina Pazinski.
I was going to say, my mom doesn't have a podcast.
YouTube is now cracking down, and I've heard this from their podcast, cracking down on content because they're trying to make it a safer space for children. So I'll send you that.
What is it called?
It's
Copa?
essentially exactly what you're saying, where it's just like, know your platform and know where it's appropriate to kind of like really like what hill are you dying on and where is that hill fucking located?
Even when I was adding the artwork for our YouTube stuff, there is an option in editing the video where you can say that your video is targeted at children and say yes or no, and then you can somewhat filter yourself out by saying no. And that's, I mean, to be honest, once we started cord cutting, like most kids, most of my nieces do nothing but watch YouTube all day. That's all they do. That's how they're getting their entertainment.
I am now 6 months into having YouTube Premium, so I have no ads, in which case it actually motivated me to watch more YouTube. So I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't grow up like that, but if I did, it would make so much sense, even if I had ads. But, I'm not a stupid little child baby, and I can afford not to have ads.
The reason we had the FCC in place for all these years in the first place is just, again, regulating these things, keeping a clutch on it. And there are some things, like me saying I line children up and touch myself in front of them, is not appropriate. That's horrible. That is an atrocious thing. I use it to, make a point here of there are far worse things you could say than, damn, that's a good burger.
Right.
I can't understand why people make this. They really should just lock yourself in a compound like The Village, and then you're fine. Don't let them watch anything. Let them read books. I love to read. I work for a frigging library. So, obviously, I'm going to endorse this. Like, you can filter any number of things that way.
Yeah.
Just, to try to then change the national consciousness to flip everybody around. It's like, they should have taken a little more responsibility and pulled that down.
I mean, you put a good voice to it. I really enjoy that.
Oh, that's
It's irresponsible.
You should have used a condom. I told you not to come in me.
I swear I didn't come in you, Pete. Anywho, did you want to get into, are we, this is going to be the new longest episode?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's going to, trust
I
me.
don't really have more.
Shit.
I only had a couple of more things.
Did we have
more
the,
current eventy?
I was going to say, the Facebook political thing as
Oh,
well.
I wasn't going to feature that one.
Okay, well then we'll disavow all knowledge. Go for it.
Just bring it up at a later point. I was just going to talk about, and I'm not doing this to accidentally alienate Michael because he doesn't watch movies ever because he doesn't have eyes.
See,
What's a
Michael is
Who said that?
visual media
Just
and
briefly
which
about
stories
you
are
guys have seen
Where am I?
2 movies in particular or have plans to see them. Some recommendations. So the best thing that Shane has ever done for my life, Michael, is a long time ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, told me about a film studio called A24. And the fact that all they really did and all they really were focused on was original content. They really didn't care about the sequel creating. They just were focused on interesting movies.
auteur filmmakers.
Didn't-
basically.
Ever since he told me that, I've focused on, if I ever saw an A24 movie mentioned, or if an A24 is recommended to me, I didn't question it, I just go fucking watch it. I think it might not have been the first, but I know the first one that the studio ever put out was Spring Breakers, and wasn't quite ready for it then, and I haven't tried it yet.
It's not.
Haven't
It's a good movie.
reattempted
It's
yet.
not horrible.
I wasn't ready
yeah.
for it when I saw it, so I didn't really care for it. But the first one that really, really hit hard for me was Ex Machina as an A24 movie.
It is in my top 5 all-time favorite films right now. Yeah.
Also, The Lobster.
That is one I need to see. I do know of it.
Under the
I know it
Skin
exists.
is another
Oh yeah,
A24,
Under the Skin.
which
There's
is
also
so good.
The Witch, and
The Witch
also
is
the
amazing.
follow-up, which is The Lighthouse, which I saw a couple weeks back. And I would also recommend, but it's probably going to take a couple of views. I was not smart enough for the hidden metaphors and allegories and shit in that movie. And once I read an article, so I was like, okay, I'm a fucking moron.
Funnily enough, as mentioned earlier, Tusk is an A24 picture.
I forgot that Tusk was
Oddly
A24.
enough, yeah.
My wife has retconned that it exists as a movie at all. When her and I first started dating, I'm way more into movies and music than she is. So I had to give her a little, almost like an elevator pitch, almost, Michael, of here's what I like. So my pitch to her was, watch this movie Tusk with me. This is probably about as weird a movie that I'm gonna have you watch that I currently know.
Okay.
Everything from this point on is gonna be so palatable. And she went into the movie thinking that, because I pitched it as, it's literally about a movie about a man who gets turned into a walrus. And she took that as a fantastical, Disney,
Fun. Good
Oh,
times.
jeez.
spooked over the head with a magic wand and becomes a fucking walrus. Not, he gets brutally tortured and
Disfigured and then, yeah.
Yeah, I know a little bit of that movie.
So she's, to this day, still has nightmares about us.
Now, what's even
Oh,
funnier,
Christ.
Sam took me to see it in theaters.
Yeah,
And she recommended that we go watch it, and I'm like, you're not going to want to watch this. And she's like, no, it's a Kevin Smith movie. I was like, okay, sure. It's and I had listened to the podcast where they came up with the concept. So I knew what I was going to get walking into this, and I was like, you're going to be terrified. But Did you steal the concept of let me traumatize you up front so that you're prepared for everything that falls out afterward from me? Did I do that to you, or did you come to that on your
No,
own?
I think you and I are kindred.
Okay.
Because I do that with media and then with relationships as well, which is why I truly believe that if you are interested in somebody, you might as well live together sooner rather than later so that you can get the ugly bits out of the way so it doesn't end in a traumatizing divorce.
I agree.
I treat relationships like waterboarding, which is like after I have done this for long enough, everything I do afterwards, you'll still be thankful for.
Yeah.
But getting to the original point, so the new A24 movie that's out and making the rounds is Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
Looks so good.
And
Yeah.
I went and saw that last week, and holy fuck, did it live up to the hype. But it's really divisive if you look up the reviews, which I guess you could say that about any movie, basically.
Are we back
Yeah.
on Rotten Tomatoes hatred here? 'Cause
No,
We
this
should
one's
be.
more organic, where I'm just seeing, like, I've had people come into the bar, I've seen people on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. It's either people are like, I feel like that movie was just yelling at me the entire time, or people being like, that was the point. Like, it is probably one of the most stressful movies that I've ever seen. But, Jesus. And I've seen Sandler and Funny People and Punch Drunk, but believe the hype going in. I can't really talk about it more because I'd really like you guys just to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is the best dramatic performance that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
I forgot for a majority of the movie that I was watching the same guy that was in The Waterboy.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do that in Punch Drunk or in Funny People. Like, you really remember in those movies, like, where Adam Sandler's at.
Right.
And also, those movies were before his terrible contract with Netflix, where he's
Oh.
just
Uh.
for fire movies just for the paycheck. But also, not an A24 movie, but this one will tie into the Oscars and nomination season. 1917.
I have not encountered it.
That is one I need to see because I love history.
So, saw that on Friday. Do you know what it?
No.
Okay, so
It's probably important to
a film movie.
explain.
Oh my god, a film movie.
It's important to explain to the audience that I am like a monk, so I don't watch television. I have even fallen out of the practice of routinely watching movies unless it's stuff I'm already familiar with. I basically just have been reading books nonstop for probably about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty disconnected from most things. Music, I don't listen to the radio. So I'm back in like 2007.
Yeah.
And then I flash
You're slowly-
forward occasionally and then go
And
right
then
back
back,
into the
yeah.
hole. So yeah.
So the dude was Sam Mendes, the
Okay.
dude who did Skyfall and American Beauty.
Yes.
It's a World War One pick,
Okay.
and it is technically not one continuous shot, but it is cut together to emulate a one-shot movie.
Oh.
Going from one trench to another, essentially.
Okay.
And it also is stressful as hell, but worth watching. And I guess this will come out in 2 weeks, and it came out last week, so it'll still be semi-topical by the time this episode comes out. But
Did it tickle your deer hunter fetish at all?
funnily enough, it really, really did.
Okay.
There
that
are
would be
multiple
my
moments
thought.
through there that you would hope that the score goes into some deer hunter
Mustard
territory.
gas, please.
Almost. And then finally, this is kind of where I was planning on trailing off on the episode, is that a movie that I thought that Shane would have disliked is just cleaning house at the Oscar nominations, and that's Joker.
Why would you think I would dislike it?
I didn't know why I thought you would dislike that movie,
Okay.
but I just thought you would. But now, and for reasons, also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got some nominations.
Yeah, and it deserves it because that's
It
such
does.
a good movie.
Now, there's a separate topic, and we're not going to go into it because I just saw it now.
Oh, good.
Well, it just got posted, but it was CNN saying this year's Oscars are a joke. But I think I see that written almost every single year. But there's probably deeper reasons. But I'm just going to read the noms for Joker, and we can follow up on it.
Okay.
After the season, but this one I'll agree with. But also, quick caveat: Sandler did not get a nomination. Uncut Gems didn't get anything, and
Okay.
once you watch the movie, you're going to be super fucking pissed about that.
All right.
Because Sandler should have gotten a nomination, in my opinion.
All right.
Anyway, Joaquin Phoenix, Best Actor.
Okay.
It's got Best Picture, Best Original Score, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Sound Mixing, Best Costume Design, Best Sound Editing, Film Editing, and Makeup and Hairstyling.
Okay.
Cleaning house.
So you're saying they're agog that the Oscars are political?
What?
I can't believe it. Man, I just wish that we didn't exist, and I say this on a podcast where what we're doing is bloviating about our opinions. Like, why is it that every 5 seconds it's, you have to agree with me about the thing I love, or else? Right? It's like, we are diverse and different people. The whole thing, you and I talked about this, and I've gone on at length about, like, when I used to act as a quote-unquote music critic. I didn't consider myself a critic, because at this point it's like, I wouldn't publish anything negative. And the argument I got is basically, I'm going, we want to be music ambassadors. We're here to endorse things that we like and hopefully expose other people to things they would not have otherwise encountered.
I like
because
that.
I've had things that I hated when I was younger that I came around to eventually. So the joke is I steal the Back to the Future lineup. I guess you kids aren't ready for this yet. It's like, I'm not ready for it. Is
I've
the
adapted
only line.
as an almost life motto.
Yeah, and it really
makes perfect sense to me.
Your tastes change, your feelings change. So, like, I saw films, I used to point it out that, like, Mulholland Drive was the worst film I'd ever seen in my life, and I couldn't stand it. And David Lynch was just, an arrogant asshole. And then I go back and watch it later on with a better understanding and really paying attention. And the movie makes so much more sense to me now. And I appreciate it. And I like the nuances and the character nonsense. And it's a bit hyperbolic, but it's fun. So I go all the way out of the way to say, it's like, but that's me at a moment. And the joke is, I'd say I would never recommend my lifestyle or my perspective to anybody because it's mine. It only works for me.
Yeah.
The only person I can ever litmus test is myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, same thing for like an awards ceremony. Yeah, it's great and it brings attention to things, but by and large, the Oscars points the spotlight on something that already has a gigantic fucking spotlight on it. Right. So, when you're trying to talk about films like Uncut Gems or things that might not have gotten the hype, and Uncut Gems is getting the hype because Sandler's attached to it. But, I mean, for some films that people spend years working on and cobbling together and, looking at like the last season of Game of Thrones, watch the documentary behind that. The hours, the pains that go into trying to concoct something to entertain people. We go into a studio, cut an album, and really exert effort towards refining our sound, cultivating something that we hope people will enjoy the way we enjoy music. We're recording a podcast right now because we want to make people laugh and have fun with us. And you go to all that, and then you get one person who doesn't see it the way you see it, who goes, that's worthless. This whole thing is stupid. Why are you even having a conversation about this? Those guys are assholes. What good does it do anybody? We're not going to stop because you don't like us. They're not going to pull Taylor Swift off the shelves because you don't like her album. It still sells. Yeah, it's kind of like at the beginning of this podcast episode in particular when I asked you guys if you ever thought of eating your own shit and you iced it.
Oh my god. It's gone full circle.
I didn't mean to kink shame you. I hoisted on my own petard.
I don't think you can say that anymore. I also completely agree with you.
John? No, thank you. I'm not. What are you listening to?
Yeah, what are you listening to?
So, before we go for it.
I was, on a similar note, like going into the studio, I was telling somebody recently about how exciting it is when we do go into the studio as musicians to record things. Because we go in with a framework, and usually the song itself doesn't change that much. Mm-hmm. But when we go in, by the way, we record 2 songs at a time is what we've been doing. And a lot of these songs we personally have been playing for a long time. But when we leave the studio, things are tighter. Some parts have been adjusted. Things have been shortened or added a little bit.
Yeah, your brain is a sponge, so you just kind of twist everything out of it and then leave.
Yeah, but then what I've noticed, and it happens every single time, is that you play that song as it is now professionally recorded. Every single time that our set is adjusted in that way, we've just gotten tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. So I think we only got a couple more now, but it's exciting in that regard. But yeah, so to have that one person be like, well, it sounds like an uninspired vocal melody from the early aughts. Like, well, Fuck yourself. Write a melody yourself, you goddamn cuck.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, just listening back on everything, I don't know what cuck means. I just like how it sounds. It feels really gratifying, so I'm just going to keep cucking saying it.
Wait, do you not know what that means?
What was that? I couldn't hear you through the cuck.
Okay, so cuckoldry is the idea that you watch your wife have sex with someone else. Or husband. True. How'd you know I enjoy that?
Don't speak about Becky like that.
So that's the idea of cuckoldry, but it's been kind of co-opted as a more in general insult, coming from the alt-right, but
degree of impotency that
yes,
you are not capable of gratifying someone else. So you have to watch someone else to get your pleasure, and you like debasing yourself that way, and you are not good enough to get that person's affections.
Yeah.
I know you actually know what this definition stands for, and you're just, dragging
being a shit.
Foolish overkill.
So,
ooh.
Stuff. So,
what's your
as of right now, we are going to put together the very first installment of proper punctuation with Michael.
I forgot we were going to do this.
Yeah, this is how we're going to end this episode. So,
no, okay.
I have written down some words on some very fun Post-it notes, and I'm going to hand them to Michael. Now, John saw me write these out. Michael saw me write them out. This is the first time Michael is seeing these.
Yep.
So
no pictures.
I have high hopes here that you're gonna knock this out of the park. I want to inject a little levity here, but you're gonna do very well at this, Michael.
Okay, so when you say do very well, do you mean like be entertaining with mispronunciation, or you think I'm actually going to succeed at pronouncing them correctly?
I think you can do some of these. So, round one.
Okay.
Now,
lay it on me.
I'm going to hand this over to you.
Get at it, Senior Cuckenstein.
Here it comes.
The note is...
that's part of your ear. That's cochlear.
Well done.
Yes.
Round
It's
one.
actually cochlear. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Shakespeare character. Cochlear, the fifth.
What,
All right.
you egg? Sorry. Oh, no. Epidemiology?
Well done.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
giving
okay.
you
On the stump.
He's warming me up.
I'm giving you science-related things because I figured that would be a layup. So
I don't know
that's what
biology.
You're 2 for 2.
Oh, that's true. Oh, okay. Now that's
God damn it, John.
brewery.
Which one?
Brewery.
Brewery?
Brewery?
Now that's just my accent.
Brewery.
No.
Brewer.
Mustang.
Tell you what,
Basswitch?
them Cape Basswitch should go down to the brewery.
So 3 for 3?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll count brewery. Yeah. This is the Basswitch sandwich that we've got here.
Oh no.
All right.
The fuck? Hold on. Is that an O or an
That
A?
is an A.
An A? Castooch?
Well, the third letter is an R.
That looks like an S.
That's an R. It's attached to the A. I was trying to write...
Oh.
All right. So
Okay. All right then. Cartouche?
that is correct.
So
What is that? Use it in a sentence.
A cartouche would be... So we noticed an odd cartouche on the pharaoh's tomb. So it would be a symbol or something.
Oh, like a bas relief. Oh, okay. Okay.
Or that would be a bas relief, thank you.
No, it's one S, not two.
It's pronounced a bas relief. It's
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
bass relief. Bass solo.
Oh, I actually have a funny story. No, so I think I mentioned before about Louisville, maybe? Did I do that in an episode?
You mean Frankfurt?
Yes, yeah. So there's another town that's nearby. It's spelt like the giant manor in France, Versailles.
Mm-hmm.
It's pronounced Versailles.
Uh-huh.
Have I mentioned that on the... I think I told you.
Maybe you told me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that with Kentucky in particular.
That's where I drew the line.
But yeah, roll tide.
Yeah. Wait a minute. That's Alabama.
I got 3 more here, and then we're done.
Okay.
For this week's installment.
All right. Let's see here. Drought.
Sure, it would be draft.
That is not draft.
That is draft.
What?
Uh-huh.
DRAUGHT?
Yes, that is
Draft?
Uh-huh.
No.
So to drink something down in a draft, or like the draft of wind, that is how that is spelled.
No fucking way.
I've actually seen.
What?
Spelled that way.
Now there's DRAFT as well, but that is the
I feel like that was
Old
a little
English.
tricky. That was
That's how we're pronouncing words, not understanding their context. So
Yeah, no, he's
that
fair.
works.
He's fair. That's right.
trying to protect the poor.
And now the next one.
Okay. I know how to pronounce it, but whether or not I'm going to pronounce it correctly. Worcester?
That's Worcestershire.
I'm not English. Bless you. No thanks, I'm not hungry?
And then it's also the town of what is spelled as Worcester is Worcester, if you are, a
Cockney?
Bostonian.
Oh.
But no, that is Worcestershire sauce.
Worship.
Worcester.
Worcester. Brotham
All right, now you ready for the last
Okay,
one?
all right,
Our first
all right,
installment
all right.
of proper pronunciation. Drum roll, please. This is a hyphen because I couldn't fit it on the post-it note. So,
anti-disestablishmentarianism.
congratulations!
What is that?
It's it's a lot of suffixes and prefixes. Can you? Why?
Or banging shit around, burping, vomiting, dry.
Hey,
fart.
he hasn't. No! Please, no. God, it hurts.
Now, that is the sound of John's will breaking.
In this episode, coming to a bloody semen-covered ending.
Bloody semen?
You should get that
Or
checked.
Are you British? If you want it, you can do what you want.
Dear Will Julius Caesar.
All right, thank you. So, thank you all for hanging out with us for this really freewheeling dealing episode where we've gone from profound considerations of our own psyches to John making fart and vomit noises and popping the microphone with his quicker stick.
No. Why?
So, you can find us in your preferred podcast. Please smash that subscribe button like it was
Smash that
John's
like
fucking
button.
skull. And please rate and review. You can find us on Instagram at Disinformed Podcast. You can find us at Facebook.com/Disinformed Podcast. And on the Twitters at Disinformed Pod. Thank you all for hanging out with us, and thank you for Goodweeds for sponsoring the podcast. We were very happy to check them out and go to goodweeds.com, enter the offer code IDIOT, and then you can help John to fuck himself later.
Please.
Fuck
Needs it.
yourself, you coward. Come on, I gave you a layup there. Your ADD is trickled off into the distance.
Seriously, man.
John is falling asleep. So
What?
The heroin's finally starting to catch up.
Hello?
Where am I?
God. So we're going to finally abort this episode. God, I couldn't agree more. She didn't need a 13th fucking Irish child. Somebody needs to pull out in that household.
You done?
Like I do. It's right on her.
You're
Sorry.
a saint.
I give her the old Irish mustache. Just
Why?
for the Disinformed Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm a mistake.
I don't want to be here.
Thank you for coming. John's mom will get it later.
It's actually the hard-working lady.
She has to be with me. She's got to find it first.